Hey guys, Zeteo here. Today we're doing some more speed analysis casting. I think that's what I'm going to call it anyway. But let's get into it.
Game started.
Alright, we've got User001 spawned as our blue Armada player in the bottom right corner. And then we have Nobi spawned at the top left here as our red Armada player. Both players doing the thing where you're Armada. Which means there's going to be a lot of ticks out here. Now, this is kind of an interesting spawn location here. I would think that you'd want to take this so they can quickly and easily take this third max, or maybe even take all three with a little bit of a walk. But instead, choosing to go with this position here and maybe, sub an LT or something here, or I don't know, just something to protect these rather easily and efficiently. But yeah, this is Pools of Ilys. Sorry, I'm trying to look over here. Pools of Ilys created by Neb. It is one of our newer 1v1 maps. It is a 14x14, so it is like kind of that's it's a little bit on the smaller side, but also just like a good size for 1v1s, I think. User here actually going for some tide generators here. Now, in case you don't know, tides break even with winds around like double. So the tide speed, you basically take half the tide speed and compare it to the wind speed, and whichever one is higher is a little bit more efficient. That's not exact numbers, but just like a general rule of thumb kind of thing. The other thing to consider is, wind is, wind can vary a lot, so it's kind of nice to have something that's consistent, especially early on, when you don't, like if wind dips down too hard, like all of a sudden you're just kind of screwed and then you're forced to build a solar. But these tides are actually more efficient than solar, so definitely a good choice here from User. And then, as you get cons and stuff, like they can't build more tides, only your commander can. Amphibious can as well, but typically that's not a thing early on, especially if you're going bots. So just sticking with some early tides and then probably adding on some wind later. But we do have a lot of ticks going across the map here. I just want to make sure that the speed is higher. I think I might have forgotten to set that. But anyways, yeah, ticks out here to try to find some damage, harass. But Nobi being in the corner here is going to be a little bit safer. He does have his commander already out expanding. Now, when you take two solar, or you take two maxes like this and you open solar, you don't have a lot of metal to work with. So Nobi here, instead of boosting with his commander and kind of wasting some of that extra BP, you don't really need that much build power if you don't have the resources to spend it with. So instead, he's sending his commander out to expand to get the resources a little bit faster and just using a con to help boost. And now that his metal is a little bit higher, has a second con out here to help boost as well. But yeah, Nobi here moving his commander out as well. Has a nano up already. That's kind of what the tides have allowed him to do, to be perfectly honest. Like the solars are just so expensive that you can't really afford this so easily. So, the tides are allowing him to get that cons hurt and move his commander out, and also still have cons out expanding. So he's 2 cons out expanding, actually 3 cons out expanding at the moment. 4th con out now to build some energy. And with his commander also expanding, this is going to be a really rapid growth, and it's going to be up to Nobi to do some damage back. And yeah, he does have these 4 pawns out, so maybe you can send him to the back, maybe pick off a couple cons. He certainly needs something like that if he's going to be expanding a little bit slower here. He does have a concert out now too, so he's going to be expanding with his cons, probably sending his commander up to the front, or maybe, I guess, just using it to boost for moments, as he gets that metal income. We do see a Centurion out here for User. Centurions, of course, quite nice against things like pawns. They're kind of just like a walking LLT. They can be overwhelmed and flanked, pretty easily. But at the same time, like, you definitely need to have enough pawns to be able to do that with. And with all these pawns on the other side of the map, there isn't really that much out there to really threaten the Centurion. And the commander actually moving all the way up to Nobi's base here. This is a very forward position. He needs to be careful, but at the same time, this is going to apply so much pressure to Nobi. We'll see if he builds enough units to, try to snipe the commander, or if he's going to, try to you know, work up some other kinds of units like plasma bots, because this is getting scary with this commander moving all the way up to the base here. I think user is looking for a D-gun on the lab. Nobody doing the smart thing, building an LLT to protect the lab. This is what you want to do when you see a commander this far forward. You need LLTs. You want to make sure that that commander cannot get up there without taking heavy damage. And then you can just run in there with your pawns and probably get the kill on the commander if, you know, user's not careful enough. All right, so rocket bot out here as well for user. This is a very technical play so far. Just having that Centurion, having that rocket bot. The rocket bot, of course, gonna help take down these LLTs after a while, and the Centurion just another layer of defense for the commander, and also just being so tanky, can absorb some shots from the opposing, you know, units here, and they repair pretty fast as well. So you know, user doing a good job, just like microing the Centurion back and forth, dodging the rocket shots, but also getting repaired at the same time while his own rocket bot deals damage back. So, you know, this is quite technical and difficult to do because there's so many moving parts. But look at all these pawns as well. He certainly has enough forces here to maybe take this down, you know, if he's careful with it. But user taking a lot of damage on his commander. He needs to back out. His Centurion also very low. Rocket bot's low. Pawns now moving in, you know, taking out this, you know, these upper mexes here. So that's certainly going to throw, you know, Nobi into a bind here as he doesn't have as much metal income. But at the same time, user, you know, has lost a lot in the back due to those 4 pawns raiding, and you know, actually has a ton of metal base. So he needs to spend a little bit better. You know, maybe his lab turned off for a moment. I don't think he was using the repeats key on his lab. You want to turn this on so that your lab's not sitting idle. But some of these, you know, some older school players elect not to do that. They're just so used to like clicking and macroing, going back to their base to build exactly what they want instead of doing a repeats of you know, the units that you want. It's just a different way to do it. But yeah, actually the lab's still off, so I think this is on purpose at this point. And I wonder how he's going to deal with all these rocket bots moving towards him. I mean, this is quite a few units. Nobi being, or user being pushed back here, sorry. But yeah, both players kind of like a little bit lower on economy than you typically see in a lot of these matches. Pawns coming up here trying to do some damage, but you know, there is a lot of pawns for Nobi as well. And then those rocket bots getting some extra hits in. Always nice to be able to do that as your opponent's trying to retreat. You know, just a little bit of extra damage can mean a lot. But yeah, looking at user's base here, he doesn't have any expansions really. He's just got the 1 mex down here. You know, so he's really just sitting on 3 mexes. His commander probably adding on some more mexes over here, so he's got 4 mexes total, which really isn't that much. You know, Nobi, meanwhile, has, you know, pushed him back, is re-expanding, taking all these mexes, going to be taking these mexes at the top, and he's certainly ahead on metal income at the moment. So user here going to have to be really careful with how he does this. Look at the surround though on the army. All these pawns coming up here, going to be able to take out all these rocket bots. Rocket bots not very good against pawns, and as the pawns for Nobi gets you know, picked off here, the rocket bots are taken out. There is a resbot out here, so he's going to be able to reclaim a little bit, maybe do some repairs, maybe do some resurrecting. Both players here need to be very careful. User has repaired his commander up a little bit. Taking out that resbot's actually a really big deal. Bit of a mistake there by accident from Nobi. But yeah, with this commander repaired, this is certainly, you know, something you have to be very careful around with those D-guns that can go off. D-guns, of course, costing 500 energy. But looking at it, it looks like there is a an energy storage for user. So he's going to have plenty of D-guns if he needs it. And here we go. D-guns going off. A lot of those pawns picked off. So I think this is putting user in a better position here, army-wise. And if he maintains that and maintains the wreck control here and resurrects these units, this can be a really scary force for Nobi to deal with. So, you know, Nobi going to need to be very careful, especially since some of these wrecks are probably rocket bots, right? Because some of them were lost here. Yeah, we see a couple of rocketeers here, you know, and those are going to be able to push back some of these LLTs. So as long as user is careful with his commander, he can certainly assault this position eventually. Pawns come up here, take out the LLT, but plenty of pawns to defend it. So, you know, a little bit of damage, but nothing crazy. And user here just in this forward, very aggressive position here, setting up his own LLTs to deal with the pawns. That radar being taken out is kind of a big deal as well. If you don't have radar, it's hard to know exactly what's back here. But yeah, with all these res bots reclaiming and resurrecting these units, there's going to be a lot of units here for user, and I'm not sure what Nobi. I guess plasma bots can do really well in these kinds of situations, with a little bit more range. But the pawns get on top of them. The pawns for Nobi doing what they can to protect the plasma bots, but a lot of those plasma bots go down. These plasma bots are a really good addition to this army. They are so tanky compared to pawns, and they have a bit more range than the commander. So it really only takes one mace to take down a commander if it's a solo, I should say. If there's LLTs in play, if there's pawns, obviously the math gets super fuzzy, but the range on those plasma bots do help significantly. They even have a little bit of AoE to help deal with the pawns, and hitting them from a distance and whatnot also helps. So this is quite the powerful army from Nobi, but it is slower. It's very hard for this kind of army to put pressure on the back. So we'll see how user plays this as he's forced to retreat away from this army. Yeah, so these plasma bots and rocket bots, they can't really assault around the sides, so that's allowing user to just re-expand rather quickly, rather nakedly, and user can just kind of back up and regroup his forces to be able to take this out, and then also send things like these pawns up to do some harassment because he has so many pawns. So now going into a lot of plasma bots, a lot of the maces sitting here. The commander's getting very low though. He's got to be very, very careful here. There's lots of, there's just so many plasma bots out here for Nobi that every trade that is going on here is kind of in favor for Nobi a little bit, just because he has more units. I mean, I say that, but actually Nobi taking a worse engagement here. I think maybe just the units being a little bit too grouped up, taking some extra AoE damage. But yeah, I mean, at this point, there's starting to be some wreck piles here, and both players are going to want to fight for that. Actually, looks like user already reclaiming some of that, even retreating the resbot out of there. And that's certainly gonna favor user, I think, just because there are no raiding units out here for Nobi. Nobi's not able to apply pressure, and user realizing that is just expanding so freely. So yeah, Nobi here not actually expanding all that well. I mean, he does have a couple of cons out here. One of them sitting idle though, but he's going to need that income if he's going to compete with all these units popping out here for user. Nobi's commander getting into the fray a little bit on this front line, building some LLTs to help out as the forces dwindle down a little bit. But yeah, what a chaotic game. We don't usually see so much like powerful forward units like this. We see a lot of pawns typically. But I think with how user played it, this is a good choice for Nobi to go into plasma bots. But I think his economy is just a little too low at this point. He's just kind of neglected it too much. And he's going to have to rely on his commander, I think, if he wants to save this position. Plasma bots, of course, like I was saying, really good against commanders because of their extra range and their higher damage and whatnot. So, Nobi's going to have to be really, really careful here. Forced to back up a little bit, but look at all these look at all these maces from user. It's just so many maces that I don't think Nobi's going to be able to do much here. And because he's so low on expansions, I think, honestly, I think user basically already has this game locked down. But yeah, it's such a whoa, what just happened? It's got a bit of a blip here. What was I saying? Okay, there's a GG from Nobi. What a nice game from user.
Ended.
Just getting just the naked expansion, because his opponent doesn't have raiding units. And I think Nobi just kind of fell apart with APM. In fact, I kind of want to check the sorry, this is the wrong thing. This is what I want. Okay, both players actually sitting at 60 APM. So I think just user doing the smart thing of making sure he's spending APM on expanding and raiding and doing all these things at once, and backing out of positions that he's not doing as well in. But yeah, the reinforcements from user, because of all the extra income, certainly is what kind of led to the end of the game there. Nobi not able to compete with that much or that many units being cranked out there. But anyways, Hope you guys enjoy the speed casting. Let me know in the comments if you guys like it faster or if you guys prefer it to be slower. Also, let me know if you like this music choice or, this is Command & Conquer music. I also sometimes do Total Annihilation music, or I could do bar music. I'm just kind of curious to know what people listening to my channel would prefer. So, feel free to drop a comment. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys continue to watch as I add more and more of these speed casts on to my channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.